guys, I'm still running through the Chief Assessors report. This time I'm going to look at the Performance Standard S1, which is Synthesis 1. And Synthesis 1 is asking for synthesis of knowledge and ideas in order to answer or provide a resolution to the research question. So what we need to look at first of all is the general comments that they've made about this, and then the ones that show how people were more successful when they answer or show this performance standard. So if you look at the main idea underneath it, synthesis means the bringing together of ideas. Synthesis is taking information from someone else and actually applying it to your answer. In order to be able to answer your question, make sure you're using a range of different sources. You can't just rely on one source in order to get all of your information from. You also need to make sure that you're looking at the information and cross-referencing it. If it's credible and reliable, that's cool. If it's not, then don't use it. Put it in your bibliography. Also make sure that when you try to paraphrase as much as possible rather than necessarily quoting. And if you do quote or if you do paraphrase, after every time you put in a footnote, go back and actually answer why that information is important, or how that information answers your question, or how that information can actually be applied to the situation that you're asking about. If you look at the more successful responses, it shows that it provides a clear and explicit resolution to the question. You have to use the evidence that is provided in your sources in order to be able to answer your question. Otherwise, you haven't provided enough synthesis. Given that the synthesis thing is saying resolution to the question, that's kind of a given. You need to make sure that you're engaging with the information, which means that you take the information and you turn it into your own words, or you show why that information is appropriate or specific to your question after each time you quote it or cite it. You need to make sure that you have explained each one of your key findings. So divide your outcome up into separate key findings and then link sources to the information that you found in order to provide the argument that answers your question. Always go back and make sure that you show the most important argument to the question, but also if you find counter arguments, include those in there. If you find information that still makes sense, still reliable and credible, but is slightly different, put that in there, because that you can show that sometimes there's different opinions about things. And make sure that you use a wide range of sources. That should be shown in your bibliography, but also in your footnotes. Don't just copy and paste the same URL over and over and over again. Make sure that you're using a different range of sources to be able to answer your question, because it shows that you understand that not all information comes from one spot. Make sure additionally that you, whatever you produce, whatever format that it takes, that whatever format your outcome takes, it matches the audience that you are trying to reach. So if you've asked a question about the CWA baking goods for the Royal Adelaide show, that's probably relevant to women somewhere between the ages of 45 through to about 65. So making a website for them may not be as successful as if you were to make a book or a pamphlet for them. If you were to write a pamphlet for someone suffering from asthma and telling them what the best options for them are, or looking at how to protect an endangered species, people who want information on that want short, sharp information, so a pamphlet best suits that kind of idea. Alright. Whatever you're trying, however you're producing it, or your outcome actually determines how you can cite something. So footnotes work for most things. It might be in-text referencing for others. It may be titles coming across the screen in a film, or it could be something like a written bibliography at the end, or endnotes at the end that just say this source matches this quote, this source matches this quote. Alright, cheers!